of North Carolina because we're licensed North Carolina. Oh, we're recording, cool. And I have been inspecting homes for approximately 21 years now. We've been from your small, tiny homes under 1,000 square feet, like a 1-bedroom condo. We've done homes that look like shacks out in the woods that people want to turn into a home. I've even inspected lately a house that had a house looks like, and all types of buildings right now. So, but today we're going to talk a little bit about homes, and buying a home is a wonderful thing. Buying a home is a wonderful relationship, because I tell people that a home is basically a relationship that you're going to have. It's great because it's something new, it's something exciting, whether the home is brand spanking new or whether the home's been with that home. Well, just like find out who that house is or what that house.
Elliot, you're breaking up.
Uh-oh, okay, hope it's clear and good when it comes to the internet inspection, so we can make sure we go through our meeting without any problems. So hold on one second.
All right. While he's running out that way, there were some I was talking about the document that HUD requires. The only one they require is for your protection, get a home inspection. And I sent this one document to you, the one that he has posted. You have that. And we will post the for your protection, get a home inspection. It also has 10 questions to ask your home inspector to help you identify whether this home inspector is going to, what they're going to provide to you. And you also might want to find out how long it takes. If they take a long time, that's a good thing. They really are going into depth. You don't want someone who's going to be in and out really quick. You want someone who also will take the time with you, and they'll invite you to come towards the end of the inspection and for them to show you the things that they have found. And then, of course, you get that report. So you don't have to remember everything, but you can learn a lot about your house from the home inspector.
All right, I have my technician on the job, who is my 13-year-old son. He's going around, running around, making sure he unplugs everything else on the internet that's unnecessary at this time. But just like she was saying, that you can learn a lot. Larissa was just saying how you can learn a lot from the inspector, who is your partner in the inspection, to help you to find out what the condition of that home is. But just like any relationship that you start, there are going to be some things that you're going to find out that need to be fixed right then. And then there's some things that you may find out that you just have to deal with, but in the home inspection, you get the opportunity to find out what you have, and then you can make an informed decision once you find out that information. So first thing is, what is a home inspection? What is a home inspection? A home inspection is an objective visual examination of a home's major components. So I like for people to think of the home inspection like a physical at a doctor's office. Basically, things, they basically let you know what your condition is based off signals that your body is getting. So that's basically what they do. They let you know thing. Basically, when we come to your home and air conditioning systems, the roofing system, the structure of the roof, as well as to make sure all those are working.
Elliot, you're still breaking up.
Maybe try unsharing your screen. And then I'm not sure if, oh, you got kicked off.
Oh, shoot.
It might be,
I am sorry about this.
it might be
Oh,
that if the internet connection is bad, you can come in on a phone, and the phone,
that's a good idea.
maybe that would be a workaround the internet.
I did send him the phone number. I have a question though. Who is B's, the letter B, like AB, iPhone? If you can put it in chat or let us know, because I'm taking attendance.
It's Bianca.
Oh, hi, Bianca.
Hey, I put it in the chat when I got here, but it's me.
Oh, there it is. It didn't show up until just now, or I didn't see it until just now. Thank you.
Okay, it's okay. You're welcome.
All right. Why don't people put their questions in chat? I think there were three or four people who had specific questions for the inspector. But if you can put your number one question in, and if there's other questions, hopefully he'll be able to deal with them. Let's see.
Let's see. Okay, good. There we are. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Is that a little better?
yes.
Oh, perfect. All right. All right. So let's see if we can get back here. I'm sorry for this delay. I actually had you guys on the best connection. I'm surprised it went down like it did, but it could be the time. I'm not really sure. But let's see. So basically we talked about, and I'm not sure which part you heard, but we talked about what the home inspection is, and we talked about what's included in the inspection. The exterior grounds, the property around your home, and that is for your proper drainage and grading to make sure you're not going to have problems with water standing right there beside the home. We also check up underneath the home to make sure that you don't have any issues like with animals getting in, or plumbing issues under the home, or duct work that has fallen, structural issues under the home. We check out the plumbing in the home, like your sinks, tubs, toilets, water heaters. Your heating and air conditioning system is checked for normal operational controls. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, because I did see one of the questions was asking a little bit about heating and air conditioning as well as roofing. We check out the electrical in the home to make sure that you have proper polarity on outlets, as well as we check your switches and light fixtures, any other electrical installed appliances in the home. And we check out the structural roof of the home. And many of us have different ways of doing that. Some inspectors, they go up on the roof. Some inspectors use drones. Some inspectors check the roof from the ground with binoculars, different ways of checking the roof to make sure your shingles and things are in good condition, as well as we check the insulation in the attic as well as in the crawl space. So that's basically a breakdown of what is included in the inspection. Now, another thing that we do is we would like to have the people present if possible. And that is so that you will know exactly what's going on. I tell people, would you buy a car and not be there? Most people say, no, I wouldn't buy a car and not be there. And I tell them, but well, it's the kind of the same thing with buying a house. If you're going to buy a home, starting that relationship, you're going to want to be there to find out what the condition of that home is. And also, when you're there at the inspection, the inspector can go over different things when it comes to maintenance, like how often you should change your filters, where the main water shutoff is in the house, where different hatches like your attic hatch or your crawl space hatch, if you have one of those, where those things are located. Just different maintenance tips and things like that that you're going to need to know. So it's always a good idea if you can be at the inspection, especially if it's your first home. A lot of times the first home is like the first kid. You know, you really put a lot of time into that first home because you're excited, you're kind of nervous because it's a new thing. So, you know, you're really into it. By the time the second home comes around, you kind of, you know, you kind of used to it. And so if you say for whatever reason, you know what, I can't be there. Can I speak with you later? Can we do a Zoom call, or can you give me a rundown of what you found? Most of the time I run into that with the second time home buyers. When should a person call the home inspector? I tell people you never want to go out and start looking for homes yourself and see a house that you like, and then decide that you're going to call the inspector to come in, because you can end up inspecting a lot of homes that you don't have an offer to purchase signed on, meaning that that house could be sold right from under you. So you basically call in the home inspector after your offer to purchase has been signed. Once that is done, that's when you can schedule the home inspector to come in. You want to make sure, though, as soon as you get that offer to purchase signed, that inspection is gone ahead and secured. The reason why is because you have what they call a due diligence period. That is that period when you have an opportunity to basically check to see what's going on with the house, what needs to be fixed in the house, and and gives you an opportunity to put together what they call a request for repairs list that then goes to the person or people that are selling that home, and you can negotiate if they're going to fix it, or if you're going to fix it, or if money is going to be put into escrow so that it can be fixed later on. So those are the kind of things that happen when at the beginning of the process. Okay. And we're just going to go down this list right here. If you have a question, just hit me right over here on the little text, and I'm going to try to shoot over there and check out those inspections. I see something here where someone has asked something about radon. Is that correct? Let me see. When does the radon inspection, what exactly is a radon inspection, and is that part of the regular inspection? Okay. First, the radon inspection is not part of the regular inspection because it is something that you have to request. It's not something that is required right now. It's recommended by the EPA, but it's not required by FHA and other folks at this time. But it's very possible that it will be soon. But right now, that is something that you may want to consider doing. The radon is basically gases that come up from the ground. These come from rotting carbon materials in the ground, trees, animals, things like that. Is something that's natural everywhere. As a matter of fact, I would dare say that where you are right now, there are small concentrations of radon in your home or in your building. There are small concentrations because it is natural to the air that you breathe. The problem is when it becomes concentrated. The problem is when it becomes concentrated. For instance, if you are, let's say your building or home is on a concrete slab. Concrete is right directly on the ground. So that can mean that you have radon gases that are seeping up through small cracks and fissures in the concrete. And it becomes a problem when it builds up in the space that you're in and has no opportunity to ventilate. The EPA says that if you have gas levels that are 4.0 or over, you definitely should get something done. If you see your levels are between 2.0 and 4.0, you may want to consider getting something done. So when you request your home inspection, it's not a bad idea to ask the inspector, do you all do radon exams as well? If they do, it'd be a good idea to have that set up in your home. The test usually runs for about 48 hours. And different inspectors have different methods of doing it. You have your canisters, you have your actual equipment that you set up in there that measures the gas every hour on the hour to let you know what those radon levels are. And what that machine does is it actually measures the average of the radon levels. You can look at a radon test and you can see at different times the levels are higher than others. as long as those levels do not average out to be 2.0 or over, especially 4.0 or over, you're in good condition. If they do, then you would have someone come in and they would actually set up a ventilation system that is low key. Most of the time it's put in a closet or something like that on the lower most part of your home. That would be your first level or basement. And that equipment basically vents the radon gases out from underneath the slab and out of the home safely. Okay, so that's where radon comes from, and it's basically something that they began to see was an issue because radon gases and high concentrations of radon gases can cause cancer. As a matter of fact, it's one of the leading reasons that people develop lung cancer besides smoking. So does that answer your question okay when it comes to that one? You're welcome, Tina. You're welcome. All right. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and start answering some of the other questions that I saw that you guys had. So let's see. Here it says, in our current market, how do inspections impact buyer-seller negotiations? That's a good question. Right now in the current market, guys, I can tell you that it's a little bit more difficult to get things done if you are buying a home that is not brand new. The reason why is right now we are in a seller's market. That basically means that the seller has more control than they normally do. It's not equal because they can ask over the value of the home at this time and get it. So if you can ask over the value of your home and still get that done, pretty much you're going to be a little bit less likely to do a lot of repairs unless you just feel like doing those repairs, or you just want your home to be presented to that buyer a certain type of way. So it's a good idea to get the inspection because you want to find out if there are any major issues going on with that home. At the end of the day, you have to decide. Again, this is a relationship thing. So at the end of the day, you need to decide based off of that inspection, if the things that need to be repaired are something that you can handle, that means afford. If it's something that you can deal with for right now, in other words, it's something that's not quite right, but it's not the end of the world. The property is not going to lose value as a result of it. It's not a leak that could end up causing more damage. You know, so it's one of those things that you have to decide based off of that home inspection. How much am I going to have to pay in order to get this house fixed? How much do I need to think about over what I'm going to already have to pay in due diligence and down payments and things like that in order to make this house livable? So that is how home inspections can affect you and the current market that we're in right now. It's going to let you know what the condition of that house is and if you can handle the repairs that may be needed. Some people are able to go right into a brand new home, and that's great. I would tell you, still get a home inspection. The reason why is because you would be surprised how many things I find in a brand new house has never been lived in. Keep in mind that when a house is built, you have a whole lot of people in there working to make that house come together. You have your electrical people, your plumbing, the HVAC people, the structural framing people, the window folks come in, the insulation people come in there, the roofing folks come in, grading people come in. But here's the thing, they come in and they have a bunch of people that work for them. Sometimes, well, most of the times things overlap and you never know when something in the process gets damaged or someone forgets to make a connection or a connection is made wrong. We have found things that were hidden from folks, from the builders, superintendent, and other folks, even from the city inspectors, that could have cost thousands of dollars if they had gone on too long. So it's a good idea to still get a home inspection, even if the house is brand new. So let's see, in our current market, so we got that one. Let's see, what are some of the other questions? I'm not seeing them over here in the, over here in our messages, but
I think there are
I did.
more questions. Alice, did you want to ask your question? What was the most common problem that you find in inspections?
Yes, how you doing, Alice? I can see you there. The most the most common thing that I find in home inspections is two things. One, doors that don't latch, which is a small thing, can be a small thing, but also outlets that are wired improperly, even in brand new homes. Many times you can plug in and you still get power. And most people, if as long as you plug in and whatever it is that you have comes on, you don't even realize that that outlet is wired improperly or not. But here's something that a lot of people don't know. One connection is positive, the other connection is negative, and then there you have the little bottom circle down there, there's a ground connection. The positive and negative can be reversed and the outlets still work and still give you power. The ground connection could not work at all and you still get power as well. In an outlet that has, you guys probably have seen this and don't realize it, a GFCI, that's a ground fault circuit interrupter. That's an outlet that has a little reset button on it. And sometimes it has a little green or red colored light on it that lets you know that that outlet has power. Okay, sometimes that outlet has power on it, but it will not cut off if a fault is introduced to it. That basically means that you could have something plugged in near a sink and accidentally knock it in the water and that outlet not cut off like it's supposed to. We find that in brand new homes sometimes because of manufacturer flaws. So it's very important. I tell people, those are the things that I find a lot of times in homes, those two things right there. The door not latching is not a terrible thing, but the GFCI outlet not working properly, that can be. Absolutely. Absolutely. Someone had asked me, I think I saw one of the questions when it came to what if you get into the home, let's say it's a used or brand new home, but you get into the home and you find some issues wrong with the house after you've had, is that after the inspection or you didn't get an inspection? I think I saw that question from someone. I can't remember, but let's say you get into the house and you had the house inspected and the inspector said, well, you know, the roof looks good. I don't see any issues with the roof. You're in good shape. You get in there and then all of a sudden you have a day like what we had today. All right. Have a day like we had today. And the next thing you know, you're sitting there, you're eating, you know, your hot wings and broccoli or something, and all of a sudden water starts dripping down into your food. I had that happen to me when I was long ago when I had my first condo. It happened, water started dripping from upstairs from a dishwasher that was leaking. But you have something like that start happening when you were really looking forward to those hot wings. Okay, the inspector said that the roof was fine, but here it is, it's leaking. Okay, here's the thing. If the roof is leaking at that point, what you want to do at that time is you want to contact your inspector. You want to let them know that, hey, this roof is leaking. The thing about having a license and getting licensed professionals to do your inspections is they have to fall back on that license and you can fall back on their professional license. That's why you want to go with somebody that is licensed. At that point, they are required, or they should, come back out to the site, see if there's something that they missed, determine if it was something that they could see right then. How long was it between the time that you had the inspection and the time that you start having the leak? Has it rained 3 times, you know, since, and this is the first time? You know, was it something that got damaged by one of the storms? The inspector should be able to come back out and say, you know what, I missed this, or you know what, this is why we couldn't find the leak, because it hadn't rained when you bought this brand new house, and we didn't know that this shingle was missing in this spot here because it was there when we did the inspection. That means that it wasn't nailed down well and it blew off in one of the storms or something. But regardless, you should absolutely call your inspector to come back out, because it could be a situation where they missed it, and at that point they are liable for that. I tell people that many times folks know somebody that has construction experience, a friend, a cousin, or somebody. You say, you know what, I'm just going to call my uncle. They do this all the time. They fix all these things. I'm just going to call them out to take a look at my house, right? The thing about it is your uncle is not responsible if the house starts leaking. That's why you want to call a professional in that's licensed, because one thing about having a licensed professional out there is they want to make sure that they take care of their clients as best as possible. They don't want to get a call from the licensing board. And in North Carolina, we're responsible to the Home Inspectors Licensing Board Standards of Practice and Code of Ethics. which basically lets us know every point that we're supposed to look at, and we're supposed to report on the condition based off of those standards of practice. So that's one thing. Let's see here. What's the other question I have here? Once you purchase a home, do you have to have the house inspected regularly? Okay, once you purchase the home, do you need to have the house inspected regularly? I always tell people that once you purchase the home, it's a good idea when you're doing routine maintenance on the home, like let's say cutting the grass or taking out the trash, to take a look at things. Take a look at things. Step back and take a look at the roof. Just kind of check things out, routine, checkup of your home on a basic level, to see if you see anything standing out or see something that doesn't look quite right. It's a good idea, especially if the home is older, to get your home on some type of routine maintenance plan. For instance, if you have an HVAC system that is, let's say, is about 8 years old, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and contact somebody to get on some type of routine maintenance plan, so they will come out once a year or every 2 years just to kind of service the unit for you, to make sure that it is running like it's supposed to. They can detect if there's a leak in the coil or something that you wouldn't be able to detect otherwise yourself. They are licensed to go in further than the home inspector does. HVAC system, for instance, the home inspector checks it out for normal operational controls. If the home inspector sees that there's an issue, for instance, if it's not blowing out as cold as it's supposed to, then the home inspector will put on the report that we need to contact a licensed HVAC person because this unit is not blowing out adequately. So that's when you would know that someone else has to come in. The home inspector is a generalist. So you want to make sure, once you've purchased the home and you've had your initial inspection, that you kind of keep an eye on things. I tell people it's not a bad idea. After the 5th year, it's not a bad idea to have a pest inspector come out every 2 years or so. The reason why, especially if the house is brand spanking new, when the house is first built, they spray a treatment around the foundation as well as on the inside area to basically treat the grounds. And that treatment lasts about 5 years. And that's what a pest inspector told me, about 5 years. After that, it's a good idea to have someone come through every now and then just to make sure that there are no other issues. Roof the roof, gutters and downspouts. It's not a bad idea to have your gutters cleaned out every so often. Just have it in your plan of things to do. So if you decide that, you know what, there's too much stuff, then it's not a bad idea to get a home inspector to come out and check it all out for you at one time. It's a preference thing. It's a preference thing. Let's see. Do all licensed inspectors have the same focus as it relates to what they inspect when in the house? Yes, they do. Again, we are bound by the standards and practice and code of ethics in North Carolina. And so we have to check the condition of things. Certain things we have to actually operate. Some things we observe. Some things we, just look at. There are areas that we have to go in. If a home inspector, for instance, cannot go into your crawl space because there's water standing in the crawl space, the home inspector has to say, I could not inspect the crawl space because. So any space that the home inspector can't get into, they have to let you know that they couldn't inspect that spot. The roof, the attic inspection, for instance, the home inspector is only supposed to go where there's a floor where they can walk safely. They're not supposed to disturb the insulation. So they're supposed to let you know that the roof or the attic was inspected as far as where the floor was present. That's as far as I walked. And then from there, I just kind of looked into the rest of the attic visually to see if there were any issues that I could see from that platform. So they're supposed to basically let you know, but every home inspector is bound by the same standards of practice in North Carolina. That's why it's important to get someone that's licensed to do your inspection for you before you purchase the home, versus having somebody that just knows about construction, because everybody is an expert until something happens. Let's see.
I have another question.
Sure.
It might be more for Larissa than it is for you, since you said that.
Okay.
But I know we've been told that when it comes to buying a house, we should get our own inspector instead of getting like using the inspector the seller is using. However, if the inspector the seller is using is a licensed inspector. Should he not, like you just said, all licensed inspectors should be focusing on the same things? So why wouldn't we be able to use that person? Because you would think if they're licensed, the information should be the same coming, no matter who is coming for or who is going to.
Right. That's a good question. Exactly right. Some people feel more comfortable getting their own inspector it's not to say they don't trust the seller, but it helps them to feel more comfortable if they use their own inspector, or maybe the inspector that the realtor that they're using recommends, or something like that. If they, for whatever reason, decide to go with the inspector that the seller has, that is totally a preference thing. It's one of those things, if you feel comfortable with that, it's totally fine. That's not a problem. Here's something I always keep in mind too, that you can have 4 people come to look at your house, and hopefully all 4 of them are going to say the same thing. But a lot of times it depends on, that person's experience level. It depends on how good they felt that day. I mean, it's just like anything else. Of course, you want them to report on all the same things, but it really depends on experience level a lot of times. It also depends on experience when it comes to how they report on certain things. Some inspectors will put more attention on things than others, depending on what their knowledge base is. So so it just really depends on what you're comfortable with, and if you want to go with the inspector that the seller has, or if you want to get your own. It's kind of a preference thing. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I wanted to bring up a couple questions that Monica put into the registration. And Monica, if you want to jump in and say anything you want to, is a priority, because you had several really interesting questions. If you don't say anything, I'll just ask a couple of them. We want to know about your X-ray eyes. How do you see what's going on inside the walls, like the electricity and the plumbing and other things?
All right. Well, here's the thing about X-ray eyes. We don't have any. We go by evidence of things. For instance, again, going back to the inspection being similar to going to a doctor's office visit. When you go to a general practitioner to get a checkup, they do not instantly give you an X-ray. They don't put you on an X-ray machine when you go to get a checkup. What they do is they have a list of things that they have to check to make sure, based off of what they see, based off of what their parameters are, if your blood pressure is good, if your reflexes are good, if you're in good condition. The home inspection is the same way. Based off of the parameters that the home inspector has, they take your house and put it up against those parameters to see how it fares. Looking at a wall, they don't go inside the wall, but they look at that wall and they say, okay, you know what? There's a stair-step crack in that wall, and it goes from one corner of the window, and then it stops, and then it comes back out of the bottom corner and goes to the floor. Okay, evidence suggests that there's some settlement or shifting in the foundation because of this crack. They're not looking inside the wall. They're not looking inside the foundation, but based off of the evidence, there's some shifting that's occurred. They try to open that same window in that cracked wall and see that the window is a little bit out of alignment. So based off of the evidence, they see that there is indeed an issue. The outlet that's in that wall, looking at that outlet is fine. When they plug in, they see that there's no power on this outlet, and they hit the light switches over here just to make sure that that outlet is not connected to the light switch. So now they know that there's a problem in that outlet because it has no power, and I've done everything that you're supposed to do to check this outlet. There's not showing any polarity, or they plug in and see that it has reverse polarity, or it's not grounded or something like that. But the inspector is not responsible for what they can't see. That's why it's important for the inspector to let you know what their limitations are, but also let you know, okay, we could not get into this area, or this is something too. The inspector came to the house to inspect it for me, and the people were still living in the house. And that house, had stuff in it, like all that stuff back there, So I couldn't see everything on the wall because they had personal items in the way. So those are the kind of things. So the inspector then at that point lets you know, hey, I was able to check certain things, but I couldn't see everything because the folks have personal items in the way. It's not a bad idea for you to do another walkthrough with your realtor to make sure there's no holes in the wall or anything like that behind those items, once they have moved out. So the inspector is not responsible for what they can't see inside of a wall. That's something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind. Does that answer that question okay?
Yeah, that was a couple of the questions. Thank you. There was one other one I thought was really interesting, the same kind of thing. So how do you know when they didn't put in the insulation properly? If there's gaps and things that are going to cause problems.
Yes. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I tell people that the inspector is not supposed to walk in the insulation and try to find the rafters and things like that. But basically what the inspector does, let's say in the attic, the inspector goes in, they look at the insulation, and it should look like a fresh snow. Everybody knows what it looks like you've had a nice covering of snow. That's what your insulation should look like. If you go in there and you can see where somebody's been walking through the insulation, the cable guys are notorious for walking through your insulation and kicking it all over the place and all just to run that little cable, and then they leave out and they don't push anything back. Okay. So if the insulation is disturbed in any kind of way, the insulation is not going to have the R value or the intended R value that it is supposed to have based off of the person that sprayed it in there and the codes. Right now, I believe the R value for attic is R33, used to be R30. So in order for that to have that, it has to be, in there really nice and smooth. So the inspector looks for that. You have also what they call bat or blanket insulation. Blanket insulation, a lot of times does have gaps in the attic areas, guys. So you'll see, if you can see the top of the light, for instance, because they put down the blanket insulation, you still see the top of the light. Guess what? That's a gap, and that needs to be covered. And they have special types of coverings for lights and things like that in homes so that you don't lose air through those light fixtures, because you really do lose a lot of air through your light fixtures. So that is a part of the inspection. Inside of the wall, unfortunately, you can't tell, but I can tell you that most homes that have been built in the last 20, 30 years, they had to go through a building inspection where the person, and basically the builder had to have the city inspector come out after each part of the process: foundation inspection, framing inspection, plumbing inspection for the piping, rough-in electrical inspection before they put the sheetrock up, also insulation on your outer walls in the home. Now, the codes have changed. So here's something that may answer a question to come up. What if my home, let's say it is 20 years old, are they held to the same codes as of today? In other words, let's say 30 years ago, my kitchen does not have a ground fault circuit interrupter, an outlet with a button on it, to reset. Is the seller responsible for having one of those put in? The answer is no, because when that house was built, it was not required. It may be a recommendation by the home inspector because it is a safety device, but the seller is not required to do that because at the time the home was built, it wasn't a requirement. So the inspector also inspects the house in the condition that it is in at the time of the inspection. That's something to keep in mind. That's basically, it's a snapshot in time. That's the thing to also keep in mind. On that day, this was what was going on, and this is where things were. That's a good question.
Any other questions for our inspector? Any questions at all about houses, maintenance, and buying a home? I think somebody here had asked a question about buying a home. When they signed up. Not seeing her now. Is, maybe I'm just missing. Is Sharice still here? I thought I saw her. Okay, any questions at all?
I put a question in the chat. I'm just wondering
Oh,
why
there it is. Go ahead.
don't have basements. Like, is there a reason why?
Oh, in North Carolina, yes, good question.
You know what? It depends on the builder. I take it you're from up north.
I am, yes.
You know what? I hear that a lot from folks that are from up north. So down here in North Carolina, I'm not sure of the exact reason why people don't have basements. Sometimes we see them, sometimes we don't. I've seen mixed neighborhoods where you'll have concrete slab foundations on one half, and then the other half you'll have crawl spaces where you can actually crawl up underneath the house. I did a house on yesterday where it had half basement and half crawl space. So there's no particular reason as far as I can see. We don't have any issues with water table in this area of North Carolina. Maybe out closer to the coast, someone would have that problem. But yeah, it pretty much depends on the builder and the preference of the person that was having the home built at the time.
Okay. Do you encounter a lot of foundation issues with those homes that do have the basements or like the half and half?
You know, it depends on the age of the home a lot of times, and it also depends on what measures were taken when it comes to waterproofing too. My homes that were built, let's say 30 or 40 years ago, a lot of those are starting to have moisture issues because in those times, what they did was they took tar and they put it on the foundation wall. And usually the foundation wall was CMU block or brick. CMU block and brick is porous. So although they put, tar on there and they filled those blocks with concrete, over time, that tar breaks down because of the acidity in the soil. And so what happens is once it starts breaking down, you begin to have moisture that starts to make its way through the foundation wall. And then you begin to see where you're starting to get this thing called effervescence, I think it is, a white powder on the blocks and things in the crawl space or in the basement area. So yeah, I do see it with homes that are older. Many times I'll see homes where they've had the issue and they've gone in and they've had a waterproofing company come in and put in a sump pump and rock ditches and things like that underneath concrete, or done some work on the outside to bring everything up to today's standards to take care of those issues. So it is something that can be taken care of. Newer homes, they have what they call poured in place concrete, or they have precast concrete walls that are put in place, and they do a little bit better with waterproofing and things of that nature. So it lasts a lot longer than it used to. So that's a good question.
Thank you.
A good question. Anybody else? I like questions. It causes me to think. I saw that some people had a question, or I might have saw a question about, it sounds expensive. Yes, it can be expensive depending on on if you're the person that is doing it yourself, or if the seller is doing it. It can be expensive, or it depends on who you go with when it comes to that foundation work after the fact. It can be expensive. It really depends on how bad it is too and what method that they use. I saw somebody had a question about the difference between an appraisal, I believe, and a home inspection. Just real quick, the appraisal lets you know the value of the house, how much the house is worth, and home inspection lets you know the condition of the house, basically what condition the home is in. Let's see here. I was able to get the chat box up here on the side again because I lost it for a little bit there. I'm trying to make sure.
That's a question since you say that.
Mm-hmm.
You work in Durham?
I actually work I work in Durham primarily, but I go pretty much, I tell people inspect homes will travel.
How are they appraising the homes in Durham?
Still high. Here's a good example. I have a friend that just bought a home, and the seller said 220 for the home. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath home. It was about 12 or 1,300 square feet, and they said 220 for the house. It was built on a concrete slab. They bid 37.5 on the home, and they got the home, but you see that was like 17 over. The house appraised at 235, so they still had to pay that $2,000 difference. So that's pretty much where houses are going right now. So I tell people to be very selective, but here's something I want you to also keep in mind too. And I'm seeing a trend where people are moving all over the place just to find a house. It's not a bad idea to try to be patient, and try to make sure that you're not in a rush if you can. The reason why is because this particular friend, who is my assistant, they had a situation where they were beginning to look at houses in Wendell and Mebane and even further than Creedmoor, Henderson, and places like that. But they were right here in Durham. Their whole life was here in Durham. Everything they did was right here in Durham. They were patient, and they just drove around the neighborhoods that were close to their home. And sure enough, while they were driving in there looking, they saw a house that someone had moved out and they were working on it. And they just paid attention, and the house said coming soon. They jumped right in. And they sent those folks an offer. They had an opportunity, though, because they were just patient, to find the house, and the house is less than a mile, probably like a half a mile from where they live right now. So they're not going to have to completely change their life in order to move into the house. So you want to make sure that you are careful not to add more stress to your situation. Excuse me, I had to turn that thing off. Thought it was off. So you want to make sure that you're not careful and don't put yourself in such a rush that you can end up causing issue for yourself later on down the line. A lot of times everyone is panicking, feeling like I got to get a house right now. I got to get it right now. But just be patient and look where you want that house to be. Look for it, and just be patient, but don't make a snap decision, because you can end up making a decision that you regret. You don't want to have buyer's remorse.
Are these homes appraised more on location, or I don't know? I feel like to kind of keep myself motivated about buying a house, I'll look around on Zillow and stuff. And sometimes I see homes that are close to downtown, but they're in like a shoddy neighborhood, and the house looks a hot mess, and it hardly has a yard, and it'd be like 370, and it's got like 2 bedrooms, but because
Right.
it's downtown, I'm like,
Right.
so this house looks like if I blow hard enough on it, half of the side will fall off.
Yep.
And then one part of it is vinyl and another part is brick. And I'm like, how are they selling this home for so much?
Right. Exactly. So you said it. You said downtown or close to downtown. And I can tell you that right now, places that are close to downtown, because of most downtowns are going through a renaissance period or something, where everybody's fixing up the downtown, big nightlife, and a lot to do and things like that. So the closer you are to that, the more it's going to cost. That's why. So you're paying mostly for location, land, that kind of thing, and accessibility. If you come a little bit further out, not even that far, you'll find that same home for cheaper and probably in better condition. So it really depends on where it is and what's going on in that area. I could tell you in the Durham RTP area, house prices are going up because of some of the businesses that are coming here. That's one of the reasons why they're going up. And you have a lot of folks that are moving from other places, and those folks are used to paying a lot of money for homes. So we see a lot of folks coming in from California and New York and things like that for these tech jobs. So I can tell you, I've overheard a lot of things. I'm not a realtor, but inspectors, we hear a lot of stuff. So yeah. So just
Yeah, I have a coworker that just moved here from California, and there was a big disagreement at my job about people from California, New York, New Jersey moving here and what it's doing to like taxes, and it got heated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I bet they didn't expect that.
Oh yeah. She was like, I don't get it. What's the problem? And we were like, oh boy.
Yeah, that's something else. Yeah, it's a when you have a popular this area has been a popular area for a long time now, and because this area is popular, you have a lot of businesses moving here. One of the best places to live in the country. So with that, prices for things are going to go up because demand is going up, and the builders cannot keep up. That's another reason I tell people to get an inspection, because builders are rushing to get stuff done. And when you rush, unfortunately, things get skipped and missed.
I have another quick question. I'll keep it real brief. And I apologize as a northerner that relocated here for work. I'm sorry.
She apologized. No apologies. Welcome. Welcome to North Carolina.
It's the mecca for medical research, and that's
Yes.
the athlete I'm in, so it was inevitable. But
Yes.
for someone who is new to the area, do you have any advice, anyone, on kind of finding information on neighborhoods? Because right now, all the houses on the listings, they all have the same appeal, because I don't know the neighborhoods and the demographics and things like that. So just any
Stay
advice.
away from McDougal Terrace.
Okay.
I said it.
Yeah, I was just listening.
And that's close to downtown, so be very careful.
Yeah. Someone else can answer that question. I know that there are different websites that you can go on to find out information about areas. And then sometimes also when you Google an address, the different real estate companies, they will have already done the footwork on that, so they can let you know the schools in the area from their spots. Oh, there we go. Thank you. There it is. Compass.
Neighborhood
Durham
Compass
NC.
is a really great resource. You can go in there and just like track for different things from across the top: demographics, economy, education. And so that will give you a broad view of some of the areas. Now, of course, it's a broad view, so not everything is, I wouldn't assume everything, but it'll give you a place to look at. And I believe that's census data. Larissa, do you know if it's other data?
That's at the base, but I think they may be adding some more up-to-date data on like house prices and things.
Can I say something else about that? I have a friend that live off of Austin and Gear, and I don't know if anybody's paid attention, but like they've been building like these brand new, like beautiful, like why is this in this neighborhood type homes, and they'll have like 3 on this side and 3 on this side. But because that one street have those new homes, we see where they have changed like the outlook of what the neighborhood is. But if you literally go like past the stop sign, you still seeing gunshots and drive-bys. So I would say it's better to ride through the neighborhood to check, even if it's telling you that it's a great neighborhood.
Thank you, Kitty.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I always tell people that because sometimes we get these questions in the inspections. It's a good idea to check that neighborhood at off times and different times when folks should be home. I'm off work, drive through the neighborhood and check it out. When people shouldn't be home during work times, drive through the neighborhood and see what's going on. It's always a good idea to find out as much as you can, because just like you build relationship with that home, you're also going to build relationship with that area and that neighborhood. That's a good question.
Well, I do want to do an announcement. I usually do this because we always have new people or relatively new people who've come, and we also offer one-on-one counseling, especially if you are interested in looking at the programs that are offered here in North Carolina at the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, or NCHFA. And some of them are for lower income home buyers, but they have programs for moderate income home buyers as well: tax credits, down payment, and closing cost assistance, and a few other special programs for first time home buyers that are closer to a grant than or it's forgiven more quickly. So let me know if you want a counseling session, or just call our office or email us.
Excellent.
And I guess you all have us on the resource page. Eliza, do you want to mention the resources that we have on Duke Homebuyers Club?
Sure. So I will drop this in the chat so you all have the link, and then I'll share my screen. So, oops. Our web page is what I just put in the chat. If you scroll down and go to past sessions, it'll take you to our YouTube page. And you can go on and click on any of these. And then you can learn about sessions that have happened in the past. Sometimes there is, let's see if I pick one. Yep. So there's a resource link. So find resources here. So if there are resources that we described or talked about in the session, you can click on that link and it should open up to allow you to look at the resources that are there as well.
That's good.
Larissa, you're muted.
I was looking to see if there was a link to Reinvestment Partners, and I'm not seeing it, so I'll just put it in the chat. You can just Google Reinvestment Partners, but it's reinvestmentpartners.org.
I think that there's one, if you go to, I'll show folks real quick too. If you go to where the calendar link is.
Yes, that's how you signed up.
So you click there to sign up.
Yes, excellent.
And then this will take you to the Reinvestment Partners page. So you could explore from there if you wanted. So if I go back, it's just right where it says 2021 meetings on second Thursdays, and then click where the calendar is, and that will take you to Reinvestment Partners page. You can read more about the program, check out some photos from the past when we were able to meet in person. Here's, I work at Duke, but it's a partnership program with Reinvestment Partners, Community Empowerment Fund, and Twist or SunTrust. And then just some numbers from a past and a podcast you can listen to, and then some history. So lots of resources.
Well, thank you very much for hosting us, Eliza. And everything is free for Duke Homebuyers because Duke pays for the homebuyer education. If you need a certificate quicker, we have other homebuyer classes listed on our calendar if you need to, or you can do it online for free. So just, let us know what you need and we'll help you. All right, thank you very much. And I hope you have a good evening.
Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Take care. Thanks
Yes.
for inviting me. If you guys have
Thanks.
any questions, I think they have my information. You guys give me a buzz.
And
Always
let us
love
know
questions.
the name of your company is.
Sure, it is Insight Inspection Services. I'm doing too fast.
Yeah, you have one of
And
those long
that's the name of the
names.
company.
Insight
Yeah, and let's see. Give you this as well. I-inspecthomes.com is the website. And if you just want to call or text, ask your questions, you can always reach me there as well.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, you guys. I enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Thank you all.